How woman survived falling 33,000 feet without a parachute. An incendiary device went off in the plane's luggage compartment. The plane was cruising at an altitude of 33,330 feet when the explosion took place, and as a result the entire plane broke apart into pieces. There were 28 people on board the plane, counting all passengers and crew members. The cabin immediately became depressurized and everybody was almost blown to pieces, except for Vulovic. Whenever you're flying in an airplane and you're looking out the window, you generally feel pretty safe. Air travel, after all, is statistically the safest way that you can travel. But what happens during the rare times when it's not safe, and how could you survive? If, say, the plane exploded up in the air and you had a fall all the way down to the ground without a parachute. It seems impossible, but surprisingly, people have done it before and none have fallen from a higher distance than Vesna Vulovic, the woman who survived a fall from 33,000 feet up in the sky. Vulovic was born in Belgrade, in what was then Yugoslavia, and became a flight attendant for JAT, which was Yugoslavia's national airline. Less than 1 year after she had gotten the job, and at the young age of only 22, she was a part of the flight crew on JAT Flight 367. On 26th of January 1972, the plane was flying from Stockholm to Belgrade, with 2 stopovers along the way scheduled in Copenhagen and Zekrom. And it was in Copenhagen where the original crew was cycled out with Vulovic as crew. It was a fateful accident because Vulovic wasn't even supposed to be on the flight. But the company had apparently mistaken her with another flight attendant. She and her crew boarded the flight and the plane took off from Copenhagen towards that grab. The flight initially went smoothly and everything was calm for a while, but 46 minutes into the flight, when the plane was just above the town of Stropska Kamenice in Czechoslovakia, something unusual happened. An incendiary device went off in the plane's luggage compartment. The plane was cruising at an altitude of 33,330 feet when the explosion took place, and as a result the entire plane broke apart into pieces. There were 28 people on board the plane, counting all passengers and crew members. The cabin immediately became depressurized and everybody was blown out to fall down to their demises, except for Vulovic, at the height of 33,330 feet. The height that everybody had to fall from was essentially the same as Mount Everest, with Mount Washington in New Hampshire stacked on top. Vulovic, however, had a series of almost miraculous events on her side that saved her life. First, when the explosion happened, she was hit by a food cart that pinned her down in the back of the plane fuselage. This prevented her from getting blown out of the cabin like what had happened to everybody else. After falling in horrific freefall, the entire 33,000 feet pinned inside the fuselage landed at an angle in a heavily forested mountainside covered in a thick layer of snow that helped to insulate the landing further. Vulovic suffered from very low blood pressure. This caused her to pass out and lose consciousness the moment the incendiary device went off. The cabin depressurized. This also prevented her heart from bursting by the force of the crash impact on the mountainside below, which she had lied about her heart condition during her interview. A local Czech villager who lived nearby quickly arrived at the scene of the crash to search for survivors and discovered Vulovic alive inside of the wreckage. She had been screaming and her turquoise uniform was covered in blood. While Vulovic was indeed alive, she had suffered a fractured and hemorrhaged skull. Both of her legs were broken, her pelvis was shattered. She had several broken ribs and 3 broken vertebrae, but still alive. She may have passed away from her injuries inside of the wreckage, and we would have never known that she survived the fall at all, were it not for the local villager who discovered her and who just happened to have been a medic during the World War II. He managed to keep her alive long enough for emergency services to arrive that took Vulovic to the closest hospital, and it was there that they managed to save her life. She suffered a coma for a that had complete amnesia of everything that had happened 1 hour prior to the crash up to the moment that she woke up. Again, the last thing that she remembered were the passengers getting on board the plane. She woke up to her parents, who had to show her a newspaper article about the crash before she believed what had actually happened to her. The very same day of the plane crashing, a train traveling from Vienna to Zagreb was also blown up by Croatian nationalists. However, nobody was ever held accountable for the crashing of JAT Flight 367 to date. No arrests or suspects have ever been made in connection with the ambush. As for Vesna Vulović, she continued to live a long life after she survived the impossible.